The World Cup has started, and already it's off to a rocky start in the United States. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Arlene. I am an American woman of a certain age who moved to Rome, Italy in 2008. I recently moved to Milan, and on this channel we talk about all things Italiano, lifestyle, St. Martin, and Anguilla. Today's video is about the World Cup. Italy, unfortunately, is not in the World Cup this year. This is the third time they have not qualified, and people are upset. They don't understand what is going on with the national team. Anyway, I see a lot of comments online saying, why was the United States even awarded the World Cup given that nobody cares about football, aka, as we say in the United States, soccer in America, and that it's a massive global event and they're not allowing the globe in? Well, I think the misconception about football not being popular in the United States is from some time ago, because actually soccer, as it's called in the US, is very popular. It surpassed baseball as one of the top 5 sports in the United States. So the top 5 sports are American football, basketball, soccer, baseball, and then ice hockey. I don't know why people still think it's, I don't know, maybe the 70s and nobody follows it. As far as pro teams in the United States, that's a different story. But there is a large fan base for the beautiful game in America. Some of it is from people who immigrated to the United States from other countries, so they root for their home country. Some of it's because you have to remember that a lot of kids who started playing soccer in high school or even, elementary school, they're adults now, and some of them are grandparents. And so they passed on their love of the game to their kids and their grandkids. Also, America has hosted the World Cup before. Back in 1994, Bill Clinton was president, and it was one of the most successful and attended World Cups of all time. Now, there were some criticisms back then about infrastructure, how it's hard to get around to the different stadiums for the fans. That's something that has been a criticism about United States for some time, about our infrastructure and how it works or doesn't work. But what I find fascinating is that we've hosted the World Cup before. We knew we were going to host this World Cup along with Mexico and Canada for years. There was plenty of time to prepare for it. There's no excuse for what's going on in the United States right now. The thing is, people have been saying since Trump was reelected that the World Cup should move all the games to Mexico and Canada. Maybe that was not a possibility logistically, because the majority of the matches are being held in the United States along with the finale. Problem is, all these issues are self-inflicted. There's no reason for it. And FIFA has really dropped the ball. I don't know how you run around saying this is about being inclusive and bringing people together when we are stopping people from entering the country under very shaky circumstances. It's not just about race, because we have all these fans in Scotland. You don't need a visa if you're traveling from the EU to the United States, but you do have to fill out this form called an ESTA. Had the ESTA approval. They had bought plane tickets, which are expensive because of the war in Iran. Jet fuel prices have skyrocketed. Hotel, very expensive because all the hotels jacked up their prices in anticipation of the World Cup. And then the games themselves, the matches, very expensive. This is the most expensive World Cup of all time, but I'm going to circle back to that in a second. So they have spent thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds. And suddenly, days before departure, their ESTAs are revoked. They cannot come to the United States. What is the reasoning? Is it because some Scottish people are not fans of President Trump, stemming from the controversy of his golf course in Scotland? I can't imagine that it would be that petty. Is that the reason why? I mean, isn't his mom from Scotland? And he always says how he has a special relationship with the Scottish people. what is going on? And then you have the situation with the referee from Somalia, who was just announced as the top referee on the African continent. It was this huge deal. He's very well respected. This, I believe, was going to be his first World Cup. I'm not sure. And so he had a visa. And to get a visa to travel to the United States is not easy, especially if you're coming from that part of the world. He also had a diplomatic passport. He gets to Miami because the referee training is in Florida, I believe. And even if you're going to referee games in Canada or Mexico, you have to go to Florida first, because people are saying, why doesn't he just go referee games, in Mexico or Canada? So he arrives in the United States. He's detained at the airport, and then he's denied entry and has to go back. They say it's because he has some kind of terrorist ties. People are saying that's not true. He doesn't. Here's my thing. If he had terrorist ties, why didn't that come up when he applied for the visa? If he's a terrorist, he would not have been able to get a visa. This is outrageous. This person flies all the way to the United States. I'm not sure who's paying the ticket. I hope the local football federation pays, but I don't know if that's something where he has to pay. When you referee these major tournaments, not only is it prestigious, but you also get a substantial financial bonus. So is he not going to get that now? And meanwhile, the head of FIFA, Infantino, is like, there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can say. It is true, FIFA has no control over the visa policies of another country. However, they knew this would happen. The United States has a travel ban against many countries. FIFA was saying, that these bans are going to be, there will be exceptions, and that players, their coaches, etc., will be able to come. That's not true. Also, FIFA gave Trump a a peace prize, some kind of prize, a fake award. And maybe they thought, okay, we're giving him this award. We are appealing to his ego. This will help us have a smooth World Cup. They also rented, according to press reports, very expensive office space in one of his buildings. I'm not sure if it's Trump Tower in Manhattan or not, but the point is they don't really use the office. It's just sitting there. So you've been buttering up to him. Infantino has been going to, different events with Trump, kikiing and whatnot. And still, we're having all these problems. And he just throws up his hands saying, there's nothing we do. He needs to go, okay? Because this should not be happening. You have teams, world-class athletes, showing up in the United States. Some of them, they won't even let them inside the terminal. They are frisking them on the tarmac. You know how humiliating that is? That is not right. You have players being questioned for over 7 hours, interrogated. They're here to play football. They're here to play a match. This is like a global thing. This news is all over the world. It's not making the United States look good, but we haven't been looking good for a minute. But the point is, the World Cup could have been an opportunity to show the best of the United States. The World Cup is supposed to bring people together. It is supposed to be a celebration. And instead, it is a complete you-know-what show. There are 48 countries participating in the World Cup. This is the largest World Cup ever. And on a personal note, it's exciting to see a team like Curaçao. Curaçao is this very small island in the Caribbean. It's close to Aruba and Bonaire, so it's part of what we call the ABC Islands. It's not far from the coast of Venezuela. I have a personal connection to Curaçao. My father grew up in Curaçao from age 7 until he moved to the United States to marry my mom. When he moved to New York, they met during summer break, actually in St. Martin. He was visiting from Curaçao, and she was visiting from New York City. And I have a lot of family in Curaçao, and it's a special place. It is part of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. So people speak mostly Dutch, and Pavimento, which is a local dialect. And you also have a lot of this, Spanish influence because, again, it's very close to Venezuela, and there's a multiple of languages spoken there. I've actually never been to Curaçao because every time I go to the Caribbean, I go to see my family in St. Martin and Anguilla, and a lot of my relatives who grew up in Curaçao moved back to St. Martin after they retired, or the younger generation, a lot of them went to Holland to study and stayed. And one of my cousins was living in Holland for a long time and recently moved back to Curaçao to retire. So, but I saw him in St. Martin. And this team is just so excited that they get to be in the World Cup. No matter how well they do, this is a big moment for them. And it makes me sad to think that this moment could be ruined by the policies of the current administration. The other big issue with this World Cup is the cost of it. So you have tickets costing thousands of dollars. Again, maybe to some people in the United States, they still see football/soccer as kind of like a bougie sport. It's a sport like that rich suburban kids play, like lacrosse. But everywhere else in the world, this is very much an accessible sport. They have working class fans, they have poor fans, they have middle class fans, they have wealthy fans. It is possible to see your local team at a very reasonable price. Although it's interesting, I was speaking to a friend here who told me that the AC Milan is now owned by Americans and how the prices keep going up, and local fans are furious because that's not what football is about. It is community, it's part of the culture. Yes, there are some ugly aspects of the beautiful game, the racism, some of the hooligans are out of control, the ultras, but in general, this is a sport that anybody could have access to. You don't need specialized equipment to play football. That's why wherever you go, you will see kids in a piazza on a field kicking a ball. All you need is a ball and some place to kick it. You don't need like specialized equipment like you do when you play American football with the pads, the helmets, the this, the that. So football is very accessible, and the World Cup and for the World Cup, a lot of people save up money so that they can go and support their team. But the costs are so astronomical, a lot of people are priced out. So even if people were not boycotting travel to the United States, which many people are, international travel to the United States has plummeted since this administration came into power. There are many reasons for that. And some people, with Canada, it's very personal why they're boycotting, why Canadians are boycotting. And it's really incredible because worldwide tourism is up, but to the United States, it has cratered. And tourism is a big part of the American economy. And I don't understand why. I'm not even going to get into this administration and their thought process. Here's a perfect example. To get to the stadium in New Jersey, where the finale is going to be, from New York City, you take the PATH train. Now, I'm not sure if the train drops you off very close to the stadium or you have to take a bus to get, right to the stadium. But that train is normally $9.25. It is going to be $98 one way. Why? So the local government is blaming FIFA. FIFA is blaming the local government. Apparently, there's all this money on the federal level that was supposed to go to state and local governments so that they could have like fan zones and do all these great things. That money I don't know if the money has even arrived yet. As of a couple weeks ago, that money had not been allocated. This is money that was already in the budget, but that keeps happening with this administration. To keep cutting things that were already allocated and just, I don't know where the money's going. Well, we kind of know where the money's going, but anyway. So that's outrageous to me. At other World Cups, the transportation to the stadium was either heavily discounted or free. You have to make things welcoming. You are the host. What is this craziness? It's almost like, let's try to gouge the fans. The sport is nothing without the fans. Why are you charging people an arm and a leg to get here, to stay here, and then to go to games here? That is just outrageous to me. So maybe the attendance will go up. Maybe the prices will drop drastically, and local fans will be able to go to the games. I've heard as of a week ago, there were many games that were not sold out, many hotels that were freaking out because they have all these empty rooms because they had anticipated people coming and they're not. All these people who decided to do Airbnb or like buy places so that they could just Airbnb for the World Cup, they're sitting empty. I have mixed feelings about Airbnb, but that's maybe a video for another time. And, this is just, it's just sad. I knew this World Cup was going to be drama when I heard that Jelly Roll song, because what are you talking about? There was nothing inclusive about it. And also it was just a horrible song. It didn't sound anything like, it had nothing to do with sports. It had nothing to do with like getting people excited and ready and pumped up for this World Cup. I am hopeful that, no, I want to be hopeful that things are going to get better. I look at what's going on with the team from Iran. They are not allowed to stay in the United States. Like, they are based in Mexico and they have to fly to the game. Once the game is over, they have to leave immediately, fly back to Mexico. Meanwhile, for Iraq, I believe it's their first World Cup in decades, and their team photographer was denied entry. Again, they have to have visas before they even get on the plane. So all this all the background checks, everything was done before they received their visas. The photographer cannot enter the country. Then you have other teams where the players were able to get into the country after being interrogated for hours, but important staff is not allowed to enter the country. Like team doctors, different coaches, and the allotment for fans of Iran, that was completely canceled. Okay, someone pointed out Russia is banned from the World Cup because of the war in Ukraine. America is in a war with Iran, even though they're not calling it a war. And we are co-hosting with Mexico and Canada. And if you look at the reception that the teams and their colleagues received in Mexico and Canada, night and day. And this, again, it's a shame because already our international PR is horrific. For good reason. And this could have been an opportunity to showcase a side of the United States that people who don't live in the USA could see. But instead, no, we doubled down on our nonsense. And I hope that going forward, things will be better. I hope that people will be able to attend the games. Maybe I hope that the prices will come down when they see that nobody's going to pay these crazy prices. And so if the prices come down, local people will be able to go to the games, or people, within the United States maybe will decide, I want to go see this particular match, what have you. But I think once this is over, they really need to look at FIFA and make some decisions, because I think Infantino has made many mistakes. I don't understand this attitude that he's having, saying people need to chill. Chill, sir. Chill. It was FIFA who gave the prestigious award to Omar Artan, the referee from Somalia. He can't get into the United States for dubious reasons, and you just shrug? Like, you're not looking out for people who are part of your organization? Are you joking? And then, speaking of jokes, we have Rudy Giuliani's son is the American contact for the World Cup. And he's out here saying, well, all the problems we're having with the extra screenings we need to do is because of the EU, because they don't do enough regarding the Ebola situation. First of all, the reason why we even have an Ebola situation that could impact the United States is because we cut all the funding that would track Ebola. But that, again, is a conversation for another time. Also, I'm not really sure what this man's qualifications are to handle an event of this scale. I don't know. I would like to end on a positive note. I am looking forward to seeing some incredible matches. I am hoping that the teams I'm rooting for will go far in the tournament. Who are you rooting for? Let me know in the comments. Are you going to any World Cup matches? If you were planning to go and you decided not to, what is your reason? And do you think that things can turn around? Do you think that this could actually end up being a great World Cup? What is shocking to me is that, remember, 4 years ago, there was a lot of controversy, and rightfully so, about the Qatar World Cup. The fact that they had to change when it was held because, I don't know, they forgot, like, the summer, it's extremely hot there, and they had to completely disrupt, all the leagues' schedules to move it to the winter. And then the issue with how they went about preparing for the World Cup and building all the stadiums using slave labor. Here we are 4 years later, and this is on track to be. Yeah, I can't. I'm just hoping, despite everything that's going on with this administration, that it will be a chance for people who are fans to enjoy the beautiful game, and would love to hear from you in the comments. Thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you're a subscriber, thank you. If you're not a subscriber, please hit that like and subscribe button. It will help the channel grow. It helps with the algorithm. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day.